Assalamu alaikum students. I welcome you all to this session, that is ninth class. First, tell me, how are you all? I hope that you all are fine and doing good, right? Okay, about today's topic. The topic which we have to cover today is a lesson from our Tulip series, that is The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov. You know, Isaac Asimov was an American writer and professor, and his works mostly related to scientific fiction. So, this story which we are going to learn today, The Fun They Had, is also a scientific fiction. It is an imaginary story of future when books and schools may not exist. Maybe all the books will be on computers, and you can relate this story with today's context. Like the schools are closed, the schools are shut, whatever the reason is, but the schools are closed, and you have to take classes on computers or online classes, or you have to take classes in virtual classrooms, and you have to learn from e-books or e-contacts. Okay, so to some extent you can relate this story with today's situation. This in this story there are two imaginary characters. That is, one is Margaret, who is 11 years old. Another is Tommy, who is 13 years old. And this story uh, is placed in the year 2157. Yes, it is 2157, almost 127 years later in future. It is Today it's 2020, right? And this story takes place in 2157. Okay, and when children learn individually at home using a mechanical teacher or robotic teacher. The story tells of an 11-year-old Margie and Tommy, who finds a real book in the attic of his house. What do you mean, the real book? Real book means manual book. You know, book we have, like just like today's books, we have pages in books. Okay, so this makes Margie reminded of the words that her grandfather used to tell about the earlier school days. The book tells about a time when children used to learn in a group of the same age of students in large schools that were not merely designated rooms in private houses as in the year 2157. Margie and Tommy discuss what it must have been like to study together with a real person as a teacher. And though at first Margie is skeptical about the notion, but by the end of the story, she daydreams while sitting on the chair before the mechanical teacher about what it must have been like for the fun they had. Like Margie was thinking about the fun the children had in those old days. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came there. They laughed and shouted in the schoolyard. They sat together in the schoolrooms or in the classroom. They went home together at the end of the day. All kids of the same age learned the same thing, thus, they could help each other in the homework. They could talk to each other about it. Thus, Margie kept thinking about the fun children could have in those schools of old days. Okay, so this story is an inspiration and a motivating factor that epitomizes the view of a child towards his or her school. Okay, you can. I have already told you that you can relate this story with today's context. Like schools are closed, and you know the fun you have when you are in school, in the morning assembly, or in classroom, or at the end of the school when you go together, when you go home together. Okay, you come school not to learn only these textbooks, but you learn a lot of things from schools, like how to behave, how the etiquettes, and your character is built in schools. So Margie was thinking about these things in those schools of old days. So this is all about this lesson. You can read this lesson, and if you have any problem, you can ask me, and I will clarify it. Thank you.